Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama, U.S. versus Australia off-grid living. In the U.S., for the most part, living off-grid anywhere near a city usually means a man that is mooching off of friends, family, or the government, and getting over on the power company or gas company or water company, right? That's for the most part. That's when we talk about off-grid or people who say they're living off-grid, 9 times out of 10, if we're talking about somebody, anybody, near a city, it's going to be a man. It's going to be a young man, youngish man, and they're literally living off of coupons. And let me get into it. These men call it living off grid, but what they really mean is they've scammed a sweet trailer for free and get their water and electricity through some very inventive way that they pay up front for something, or they make it themselves, which then is no energy upkeep cost or very minor but hugely inconvenient. So it's never going to be as convenient as going to the faucet and turning on the water. It's never going to be as convenient as flipping on the light switch, right? It's going to be something where they have to, get the hamsters on the wheels, and then they, run up the the Hogan's Hero periscope through the the water trough. It's going to be something weird, right? For example, they'll live in a tiny house in someone's backyard, not pay for the space, but not tap into their electricity or water for fear of overstaying their welcome to the owners of the home, the property. They'll then make do with inventive ways to compensate for not having the modern conveniences of electricity, water, gas, what have you, right? So it's living off grid, but it's actually living off of somebody else whom you have made it as convenient as possible. So you score a deal where you actually create a garden, and so you give them half of all of your tomatoes and cucumbers and radishes. You say that you're living off a grid, but what you're actually doing is you are living off of somebody else who has to pay property taxes. They pay their own electric bill. They pay their own. So you're mooching off of somebody else. Now, this doesn't apply to those who are far away from the city. These range from just men to full families who live in a fairly remote area, or in a town that's basically not established enough to force its residents to have to pay for electricity and water. These people will rely on well water, septic tanks of their own, buy a gas tank for the entire year, and have to come up with some solution to electricity. So now this actually was the way of life for most people living in the United States. And 150 years ago, this was everybody in the United States. With the invention of gas stoves and a gas refrigerator, did you know that existed? Hello? Leave me a comment if you don't know what a gas refrigerator is. A gas washing machine, did you know that existed? Every appliance that you can think of has been invented to run off of gas, natural gas, at some point in the history of mankind in the modern conveniences, right? So they would order a huge, tank once a year. The people would come out and fill up the tank once a year, and that'd be it. And they would have to, by the sheer, just by existing, that's how they had to live, and it was quote unquote off grid. All right. So now people are reverting back to it's on. I think it's my lifetime. You know, I'm technically a millennial. It's my lifetime, I'm saying it's just right before my lifetime that people went off of doing stuff like that. Now, as far as the solutions to the electricity, at upwards of $100,000 to run a line to their house, they are forced to come up with an off-grid solution. Even if they paid $100,000 for their off-grid solution, they'd be light years ahead of the ball the very next month, right? And probably end up with a fantastic system that's actually more reliable and far more luxurious than what the power company provided as a solution. So that's saying you live deep into. So here's my grandmother's house, or my grandparents' property. There was the road, right? I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about if you have any parents that live in the country. There was the road. And then there was a dirt road. And you would turn off onto that dirt road, or you would walk down that dirt road, and you'd be going sometime. You'd be going a good 15 minutes. I don't want to say 15 minutes. Walking there, it'd be a good 30 minutes, right? That's if you did not go by where you went by as the crow flies. That's still a good 30 minutes walking, right? So we're not talking about they are anywhere close to civilization. Civilization is the road. It's a paver, and people didn't go down that road so much that the road looked brand new for 40, 50 years, probably 100 years. That's how infrequent people even travel down the road. The asphalt, right, was pristine the entire time. Now, the power company says, we can run a line to you, but it's going to cost you $100,000 for us to run a line from the road to you. So what? Because we're going to have to put a substation at the road to get power, to divert power to your house. Now, because of, I'm talking about 2019, because of how cheap it is for alternative energy. That's your wind, that's your solar, that could be your gas too. All of that is up for grabs. If you said, okay, well, since I'm going to have to pay $100,000 anyway, that's my limit anyway, I'm going to buy $100,000 worth of alternative energy means. You could set yourself up with a luxurious thing where you could run 50 refrigerators, you could have 50 TVs, you could have an amphitheater in your backyard. I'm thinking of, my grandparents' property was huge. We have oil on the property. That's how big it is. They ran wells on the property. So you could have all of this stuff, and you could literally consume electricity like it's just coming out your ears, right? Because with $100,000, you could really get a good setup. You can get a decent setup now, 2019, because solar is so cheap. You can get a good setup for $10,000. So imagine what you could get with $100,000. You could literally create all sorts of, still in this day and age in 2019, in your 3-bedroom, 2-car garage home with a white picket fence, you still conserve energy, whether you know it or not. You conserve energy in your home. You turn off the lights. You don't run air conditioning. You don't run heater all the time, right? You conserve energy. You have a everybody wants to say, oh, you're wasting so much energy, you're doing it. No, for the most part, 99% of the people conserve energy just by the way, the natural habits that they have, because when they get that power bill, knocks them down. So Everybody. And I'm not talking about just people who make $30,000 a year. I'm talking about people who make 30 million a year. They still conserve. But if you had a setup where you had alternative energy, you could live like a king, the king of electricity. Now, let's not jump over the water situation just yet, though. While digging a well is pretty simple and easy, although it's not as simple as easy as I'm making out, a lot of these people literally have to become a water treatment plant of their own. They have to either be miserly with water, depending on where they live, if they live in a dry area, or they have to recycle and treat their water on site. Because a lot of times, if they have to provide their own water, they're not open to the sewer line, so they can't just throw sewer away to the city to deal with, because they're not connected to it, right? This can be as involved as creating a water mill with a pump, water tower, all the way down to a plant-based water treatment, or even a 7-tank water filtration system where they do the whole kit and caboodle and still go through a treatment after that, right? It could be as involved as, depending on how they have it set up, depending on what they need, right? Now, all of this applies double, if not triple, in Australia, right? It might sound strange, but entire towns in Australia have gone off-grid. Seems like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Imagine moving to a town and the government assisting you in being off-grid and advising you how to go off-grid, right? They come up, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson, welcome to our town. Okay, here's how we're going to set up. You have the option of your windmill. You got your option of your solar panels. This for the most part, right now you can stay in a hotel until we get your house set up. Till you get your house set up, Rob. Okay, right? And we'll advise you the whole long. We'll give you the best people. Now, right? Isn't that a little bit crazy? Because in the United States, I'm gonna get to that later on. The United States is the exact opposite. Or better yet, you have a power company in town, but you all suffer from blackouts on a daily basis, and then receive in the mail that they're canceling. We're using the slang term cancel, like Hillary Clinton was canceled for saying the N-word to her staff, right? She was canceled. They are canceled by the local government. And everybody in town is going off grid all of a sudden. You receive that in the mail. And that is right here on YouTube too. What immediately becomes apparent is that the power company isn't the perfect being Americans think it is, right? I've lived in several countries overseas, and the stability of power from the power company is almost laughable. I've lived in every country that I have lived in outside of the United States. Losing power was pretty common. Imagine, and I'm talking about, I lived in Europe too, so don't get it twisted. Imagine my shock at coming back to the United States and having the power go off pretty frequently. They might say, oh, that was because of a storm, or a capacitor blew up, or the box blew up. But the reality is, the power grid system is a juggling act at best. The power company isn't stable at all. Someone could plug in a blow dryer inside their home and knock out a city block out of power. That's how delicate the power grid system is. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I'm pretty sure if you looked it up, you would find evidence of that. When we get to Australia off-grid in some places, it's a way of life, and the innovation coming out of Australia, because they have to deal with this, is probably state-of-the-art for the entire world. Imagine Elon Musk building substations for solar power that is more stable than the power company in Australia, which is true. You can look that up. Here's the kicker, though. While Australians have to deal with off-grid living, in certain cities in the United States, you're forced to buy from the water company. You're forced to buy from the power company. In some states, if you even think of going solar, the power company has rules in the city that say you can't be 100%, even if they allow it, right? You can't be 100% off the power company. And they'll only pay you pennies on the dollar for contributing to the grid for your solar energy. Here in Las Vegas, they even reversed it so that they won't pay you at all for energy that you put back into the grid. How you like them apples? So you can have solar panels. You can produce more than what you need in a day. It's on an hourly basis. Let's say you don't, and they say you can't have batteries. You can produce more energy than what you actually consumed in that hour. Put that back into the grid and get 0 credits. 0 credits, 0 money, 0 anything, right? Even when they have the credit system, they have a system whereby you during the day generated energy, but you know the husband's not home, the children aren't home, only the wife is home, and so the energy is just being produced and produced and produced, and it goes into the system. They give you credits, right? You're listening to this. So the energy produced during the day is the most expensive energy, right? Because that's when everybody is in businesses, and businesses take up more energy than anybody else, and businesses are run during the day. So the electricity during the day is the most expensive. So you putting energy into the system during the most expensive time should mean that you are getting credits that are double and triple and even quadruple to what it is at night. Here's the kicker. You come home at night, turn on your lights, and they charge you 3 times as much for the credits that you give that you've already put in. How you like them apples? Their reasoning is that everyone must be on the grid for the grid to work. And that's kind of true. So literally, and here I've spoken to a couple of electricians, it doesn't work like you think it does. There is no off switch when you're on the grid. People say unplug your appliances from the wall to make sure that it doesn't complete the circuit and charge you as the thing is plugged into the wall. The electrician that I spoke to says that doesn't do anything at all. They charge you at the box. They don't charge you by the plug. They charge you at the box. So it doesn't matter what you're plugging in and not plugging in. It's a grid system, and the electricity goes from Miss Jenkins' house to your house to Ronald McNair's house, right? You're not at home. Tough luck. You're on the grid. It's coming through your house, and if you try and get off the grid, they're going to have a word with you. But here's the kicker: as soon as they turned the power on and collected everyone's bill, the grid that they say cost them billions of dollars was already paid for. The very first time that they collected, it was already paid for. The grid was paid for as soon as they set up the grid and everybody turned on their lights and they got the bills. It was already paid for. Not this 30 years going to be paid off in 30 years. No, it's not going to be paid in 30 years. Now, their expenses might be calculated into it for the operation costs, but you can now run an entire power company with like 5 people. Now, right? I don't know that much about it, but I know that much. I don't know that much about operating one myself, but I know that much. Most power companies don't make power. They buy it from remote companies, even several states away, and by their grid system. They can open up the taps and power entire cities. So I could be in Las Vegas. I could buy power from Texas, and then through Texas, and it goes through I don't know American geography. It goes through New Mexico, Arizona, Las Vegas, right? Something like that. And as soon as I turn on the power, boom, I'm getting all of that electricity all the way from Texas, from a company that generates electricity in Texas. So your local power company doesn't generate. You know, Las Vegas has the Hoover Dam right next to it. Generates a gazillion kilowatts, right? We don't get any of that power. All of that power is sold to California. And here's the kicker. Then we have a power company that has contracts with Enron, and then Enron sells the power that the company actually generates to the local power company to Las Vegas, and we pay the premium California rates for power that we get. This is worse than the India versus Great Britain. Let me tell you. But wait, there's more. Here's another kicker. Solar power costs dropped to pennies per kilowatt. So power companies scammed everyone and started buying power from solar power energy companies, but still charging the customers top dollar, right? All the while telling citizens they can't be 100% off the grid. Who did this? Your own government. Now, let me tell you, here's a final thought here. The luxury, I hope I put it up, the luxury house that you see was a lady who did solar and water off-grid in Florida, and the city in Florida said, no, you can't do that at all, and had her evicted from her own house. Says, not only can you not do it, you can't even live here. And they passed laws that said that you can't do it. 7 states have this lovely scheme that incorporated into the local laws, making it illegal to live off-grid, not only in the cities but in the state. 7 states have anti-off-grid laws on the books. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a comment, a like. I bet a lot of you all have incorporated some off-grid stuff. I have some of the stuff in my home is completely off, that I completely do without. I bet you do without a lot of stuff in your home, and you never thought it through that you, in some aspects, you're living off-grid with certain features in your home. Thank you all for watching. Please support the channel at paypal.me/Shakaama. Thank you.